Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think all of this plays into the U.S. economy, and these are some of the things that I lay out in this report. If you want to scroll down a little bit, I laid out a couple charts in terms of the big picture regime that we're in. And if you go down a little bit more, that's a chart of just M2 and kind of some of the limitations behind that. And there's all the primers. But right here, about where we are right now, I mean, this reflects, going back to your point, Tim, on just the regime that we're in. I mean, when you have credit spreads this low and delinquencies this low, there's a reason for that. It's not it doesn't just happen accidentally, right? You can't just have credit spreads move to a massive cyclical low when there's rising credit risk or an imminent recession. I mean, if you have an imminent recession, just for anyone kind of modeling this or kind of think about it, if you have an imminent recession, meaning it's going to take place in the next 2 months, right, or next month, credit spreads are much, much higher and price in a marginal probability of a contraction, right? Because if you're going to move to negative real GDP, unless you have a shock, you have to move to GDP at 1% first, right? So if we're running around between, around, let's say 2.5% real GDP right now, and that's kind of basically where we're at overall. If you're going to move down below that to a negative GDP print, that's possible, but you need a shock like COVID where everything just shuts down right away, or you have this crazy geopolitical shock. If that's not going to happen, if we're not going to have a shock, then very likely for us to trend down and begin moving down. And that means before you get to negative, you're going to hit 1% first. And that's when you're going to have a marginal rise in credit spreads and some other things, but we're not seeing that yet, right? So credit spreads remain low, and that's if those remain low. And here's just mortgage delinquencies in the chart as well, where those are incredibly low as well, and then just the Bloomberg bankruptcy index.
I mean, people are bringing up then delinquencies from car loans, maybe, or consumer loans, right? And they are ticking up, but it's not. Of course, it's important, but it's not a really big driver that can drag things down. If mortgage defaults are ticking up massively, this is stuff that can brings down the economy, right? Because there are billions, if not trillions, behind it. I don't know.
100%. I mean, when you think about, like, let's say consumer loans or credit card delinquencies. Let's say we have a chart where consumer loans that are primarily connected to consumption, or just things along the sides of credit cards. When we look at the overall predictability or overall percentage of that compared to the overall income that an individual has, it provides much less predictability, primarily because it's not the largest expense for an individual.
Exactly.
And so that's one of the reasons why, I mean, we look at credit card data, but overall it provides a lot less predictability. I mean, there's a reason why we don't use it to trade markets. We use it to further inform some of the economic data that we look at, because the main expense someone has in their life is either their mortgage or their rent payment. End of the day, right? It's your mortgage or rent payment. It accounts for, typically somewhere between 20 and 50% of your income. And it takes that much, sometimes more, depending on where you're at exactly, or what kind of decisions you're making. So that is the main thing, right? So that's why when you have changes in the, default rates on those items, that is the reason why you actually have such a larger impact.